Alright. Alright, I'm just trying to get this thing set up for the first time live streaming, but what I'm going to try to do is remake Blood Moon. I lost the original about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. And then I made this Blood Moon, which, looking dead on, I just didn't like the way he looked. He just kind of had a goofy look to him, so and then I got a little bit close on the shave here on the cheeks, and it shows through a little bit on the through the white fur with the black background of the mask. So there are just a few things I'm not too happy about, and I want to get a new one made right before I go to FWA. So this is what I have. But just finished printing out a new base. Got a couple black ones in TPU. So it comes out with these supports. Got to remove those. And I'm just going to slowly just work through this, and whether people watch or not, I'm here doing it. Why not? But so the TPU is pretty flexible. It's a pain in the butt to chop out any of these holes. We have basically chunks of super flexible, strong material that you gotta chop through. So I'm using just little snippers here. There we go. Like I said, that stuff's pretty strong. It's pretty flexible. So my character, this is Blood Moon. It's a Eastern Circle. I made my first one about just over a year ago, July or January of 2024. Right after attending Painted Desert FurCon here in Phoenix, I decided to try to make my own fursuit, and first one I made turned out, I think, really good. There were a couple things that I didn't like about it. It was wearing I had tried doing a hard hat helmet harness. Overall, it worked pretty well. It made it very adjustable. That way you can wear it on your head uh, and change the size depending on who was wearing it, if they have hair up in buns or anything like that. But in the end, it was just a little bit loose and it wobbled back and forth as you moved or if you jumped around or anything like that. So recently I made a new update. I really like Blood Moon 2.0. That was my second version of it. Vision was good, breathability was good, and the jaw just moved really well with the face uh, as I worked on it. But the downfall was I went to a fursuit meet back here in probably March, left the tailgate of my truck open, and as I drove down the road after dropping somebody off at their home, I lost Blood Moon and Blood Moon 1.0 and 2.0. So both of them ended up being lost because I took both of them to the fursuit meet. So that kind of sucked. So a lot of people ask, hey, why didn't you just turn around and pick it up? Well, got home about midnight. That wasn't too bad, but instead of taking it right out of the bed of the truck that night, I decided, I'll just handle that in the morning. Not a big deal. Well, morning came, I walked out to the truck, and the bed was wide open. First thing I did was jumped in the truck and drove down the street trying to find the box that had fallen out, and I could not find it anywhere. So that pretty much ruined my day. I drove up and down that street probably, I don't know, 8 times within an hour, searching all the bushes, looking in people's garages if they were open, looking for my Blood Moon case, but to no avail. And I was hoping that maybe I'd see it on Marketplace or something like that, but no luck. So, as I was working on another fursuit, I just kind of let it sit for a while. And then about 3 days before a Renaissance fair in town, I decided to make Blood Moon 3.0, which is this guy. I rushed it. I did about 3, 4 hours in the evening before or after work. And yeah, so this is what I ended up with. Overall, he turned out pretty well. The jaw doesn't work nearly as well as the last one. The screens, I made them a little bit too large and just didn't really squint the eyes on Blood Moon as much as I'd like. He just kind of looks a little goofy straight on, but overall, he will work if I decide that this thing just won't get done in time, or if I don't make it work well. I could take it to FWA and just be fine as it is. But figure I've got a little bit of time. I've got about a month before Furry Week in Atlanta, and yeah, we'll see. But all right. Sorry, I'm staring at the project here and not at my chat. I see Lazy Buggy Boy. Hey. So is the audio coming in clear? I can't really tell because I'm not listening to myself. And then Nico Azul. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's not exactly probably the most fun thing to watch, but here I am. I'll just figure might as well live stream what I actually do, because I think I've laid out a ton of steps when I actually post videos of how I'm actually making these things. Glad to hear the audio works. So, all right. Sorry, you guys don't have a very good view, but this is, oh, this is painful. But once it starts coming, it just kind of comes out in one big chunk. So. So the way I've got it set up here is each of these little holes has a little support in it, and as it prints, it makes sure that the hole stays nice and round. And all of these little things form like a little tree or artery system supporting all the different chunks. So it's breaking off all these little guys kind of sucks. So I tend to take the snippers here, hopefully break them off the top. That way they just come right on out. Do, 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 do. Oh no, that sucks. Yeah, I always hated it when teachers would leave, because it's always going to be the best teacher that ends up leaving. I feel for you on that one. Oh, there we go. All right. So the whole support came out. I used probably just as much material as the head base itself to hold the head base up when it's printing. But all right. Cool. I'm sorry if I sound sarcastic. I'm not. I'm probably focusing on not ripping my hands up. Normally I end up with blisters from pulling on this stupid stuff. But I promise I do I do sympathize with you not getting to keep the teachers, because I know that really does suck. Alright, so here's all the waste material. Gotta love that. So, in general though, I think you got to see this stuff is pretty flexible, pretty pliable. I can pull on it, tear on it. Stupid stuff will not tear, so that's why I ended up swapping to the TPU. It's flexible, it squishes, it's not as soft as a foam, but overall works pretty well. And then instead of using springs or anything, I tend to just get it mounted on the bottom of my jaw, foam it out, and just let it just flop as my mouth flops around. So, all right. So all this trash, unfortunately, gets wasted. This stuff is probably 2 or 3 times as expensive as a normal uh, PETG or PLA plastic from the 3D printer, but in my opinion, it's well worth it. Plastic nutrients. All right. Trash. All right. Well, at this point, I actually don't know what to do because I wasn't expecting to get my camera really set up where it worked. Because this is a whole new setup that I got. I really kind of like it rather than just doing my normal GoPro wherever it is. I don't know, I lost it already. But now I've got the ability to zoom in, zoom out, a little bit more functional. But in general, I just wanted to test it out. I think tomorrow I'm gonna try doing pretty much the build throughout the day and see what we get. But uh, I may go ahead and start doing some of the teeth painting. I printed out. I think I've got about 10 different tongues here because I had a ton of material that I didn't want to waste. So I just said, well, I'm going to print out tongues. So I might do that pinkish purple tongue. He seems to work all right with, I don't know. I've got a few other colors, so I might try that, but I'll glue those in and paint the teeth. Tonight I maybe I'll try making the eyeballs. I might do that on camera here and let that cure up overnight. That way I can glue them into the mask tomorrow and all that. So that may be what I end up doing tonight. But in the end, overall, that's kind of what I'm working on. I just wanted to make sure that the camera got set up all right. Let's see. You made some fan art a long time ago. I know you shared a couple of them, the intro, the outros and stuff like that. That was awesome. You did a really good job, but I appreciate it. You I've been watching a lot of this stuff on your channel. I stopped recording stuff for a long time, just I don't know. I retired from one job and I started a new one about a month ago, and ever since then I've been making things but haven't really been working on making videos, and I figured, well, might as well just live stream it and I don't have to worry about the after effect of putting all the videos together. But and then one of my downfalls is I've made about what I think this will be my fifth Blood Moon, but I've only got a couple of them. uh, but really the reason why I figure I might as well keep this guy as a backup is because I like doing stuff outside in the dirt. I live in the desert where tons of dust. So when I take him out into the desert, this one I figure I could get dirty, get smelly, and just a little bit more abused. And then I'd like to have like an indoor mask where I don't have to worry about that quite as much. So, but on this one, overall things worked out all right, but I really don't like how the sewing on the tip of the nose here worked. It's just not as smooth as I would have liked. Around the nose, around the eyes, it's just kind of sloppily thrown together. And that's mainly just due to me having short time frame and just trying to get done before the Renaissance Fair. But overall, it came together. It looks like Blood and Moon. It's just a little derpier than I was hoping. And then the red on the side's not as like prevalent as it used to be. So just a few minor things, but I'll say one of the biggest things I really enjoyed wearing was this mask outside in the wide open. Like I had great visibility. I could see little kids. It's probably one of the most packed Renaissance fairs that they had this summer. Or I guess it's summer to me, but it was fall. Is March. Uh, fall. Wow, spring. But it was about 100 degrees that day, and I can breathe. I walked around, I don't know, 6 hours without having to take the head off or anything. So I was really pretty happy with it. I'll probably end up doing the same type thing, but just adjusting it, making it just a little bit cleaner along the edges and everything. But visibility and breathability were freaking amazing. So we'll do that. I don't know if it's something I've shown recently, but working on a secret project. That's awesome. I hope you show it on your video on YouTube at some point. Let's see, have I heard anything about AZ FurCon? I'm not sure if it's happening this year. So yeah, everything I've been seeing up to this point is saying that they, I'll guess, transferred ownership or transferred responsibility to a new group. They had a new convention space over at the Doubletree, I believe, over in Mesa, but that kind of fell apart. So at this point, they're looking for a new con space unless that's happened. I haven't been keeping up in the Twitter, or sorry, the Telegram chat. But my understanding, it's gonna happen. I'm planning on going, and I'll do it again if they have it. I think between here, I've got uh, let's see, FWA here in May, and then June I'll be going to LA FurCon, or no, Furry Weekend LA. So that'll be in June, and I'll take uh, Jinx with me, and I'll have Jinx with me over at FWA. And then let's see, I'm planning for AFC, so another FurCon, once again, kind of Ontario, LA, California area. We'll do that here in September, and then October should be Arizona FurCon again. And then once again, finally PDFC. That'll be my third one, second one as a furry, and get to see how that goes. But overall, everything's been fun. I want to do more and more cons, but now that I've got a new job, I realize that all the cons are lined up with events that I really need to actually be at work for. So I'll have to be a little bit more critical on which ones I actually attend. Um, yeah, we can rebuild him. And Lazy, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get to one of the conventions soon. If nothing else, keep an eye out for those uh, fur meetups. And if you don't know, I found a few like in Georgia because I used to live there. I'm like, oh, well, if I got FWLA, wow, FWA coming up, and might as well start looking at some of the local meetups out there, see if anything happens. I'm gonna stay there for a few extra days, and see what's going on. But so look online, start looking and seeing what kind of conventions or what kind of furry meetup things there are. There's a lot of good Telegram groups and stuff like that out there. But yeah, what I was getting at one point was, hey, I decided to put LEDs in his eyes. That way, at night, I can go to dances, raves, stuff like that, and have glowing eyes. So I kind of think that turned out all right. So I'm gonna try to work on some sort of variation of this again. That way I can, get the eyes going. The one downfall is it looks like one is a little bit brighter than the other, and I think that's just based on how I had the LEDs placed in there. So I'll try to resolve that in this build as well. Um, but yeah, let's see. You went to your first convention in January alone with no suit. Yeah, they're. I was. I think my first convention that I went to by myself was AFC, and that was the one in Ontario, California. I stood in line by myself for about 3 hours waiting for the convention to start, and I was kind of paired between a group of people that I had never met before, and they were probably that weird group that you're just like, why am I stuck between these guys? One totally antisocial person, and then there was another one in front of me that was just too social, but they were kind of stinky. And their fursuit itself was all clumpy and just gross, and you can smell it several feet away. So that kind of grossed me out. So as I was there by myself, I'm like, what am I doing? Is this really my world? But it turned out that that was probably one of my favorite conventions. I really enjoyed it and got to do it by myself, which was unique. Uh, and then I got to meet a few different people. So Z the Raccoon and Finn the Panther were there, and that was a lot of fun. They were super cool. And in the end, I really, really, truly did enjoy that con. So, yeah, PDFC, truly, truly, it's a good little con. I think we're going to start running out of space at PDFC pretty soon. Like, the convention space is great, but I think we just need to start either opening up more rooms. But one thing I don't like about it that a lot of other cons have is just a good, just hang out, sit around spot. And that's one thing that, other than like the main hallway outside the main exhibit area, it's really doesn't have a ton of space just to chill. So that's one thing that I think it's missing. Um, yeah, so at this point, I will probably go outside and try to find the epoxy and start mixing that up. I don't know if I should stop it or just continue it and just let it just sit here, but I'll go grab that stuff and we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I don't pour it all over the table, but if I do, it needs refinishing. That's why I've been messing on this table anyways. And a little epoxy won't hurt it because it needs to fill some of these holes in anyways. But, all right, you got a TikTok. Let's see. I think I've got an account, but I actually don't do anything on it. I don't do anything on a lot of stuff. I think what I'm doing the most posting on right now is Instagram, just because all I have to do is take a picture and drop it on there. I don't have to do really any work to it, but I'll be back in just a few minutes, hopefully. So, doo-doo-doo. All right. Sorry about the delay. Let's see. So I got these little guys. They're about a 2 inch, 2.25 inch half dome epoxy pour. So it's a, what is this? Silicone tub basically. And I mix it up with some super clear hardened epoxy. It's even, woo, got some stickiness to it. So those are leaky bottles. I need to get a cardboard box as a base here, but I didn't clean up my stuff after my last pour, so I gotta clean all this stuff up. So I'll go ahead and stop this here for a little bit. I'll probably be back on in the next 20-30 minutes after I clean up all this stuff and get it ready for pouring new epoxy, and then we can see how that goes. One of the big things with the epoxy is trying to get all the bubbles out, which it's a pain. I tend to use a heat gun and it works on the bubbles out, but it also speeds up the curing. So I hate that part because then it starts getting really hot and steams and bubbles get stuck in the everything. So that's where we're at. All right. So that's where I'm at for now. I'll see you guys in a little bit.